Thinking differently about challenges and emotional intelligence. We are from the Directorate of Counseling and Career Development. Again, we will be presenting to you further resources on how to cope with your studies. The focus of this presentation is about how you could start responding differently to challenges, but furthermore, also how you can manage your emotions. What are the common challenges that Unisa students face? What are the challenges related to your studies? To begin, maybe let's look at this case study. Sipho is a postgraduate student and has been given feedback regarding his research proposal. He has been thinking about giving up on his studies since it seems that he can't just do anything that satisfies his supervisor. Maybe your challenge is the same like what Sipho is experiencing, or it's different. Maybe in your case, you have been repeating one module for 3-4 years or 3-4 semesters, and you just don't understand what else you can do. Or you have just been struggling with assignment. Or in your case, you have got a different type of a challenge. Maybe it relates to your relationships, to your relationship at work, to your relationship with your family. What is important is your perception towards a challenge. How you view a situation determines your actions and how you feel. People have a different ways of viewing situation. Two people might see one situation differently. For example, you might be listening to this message and you think that, yes, I'm struggling with an assignment or I'm struggling with the module, but it's because I'm not putting more effort. To somebody else, it's a different situation where you feel the lectures are personally responsible for your results or for your struggles. As I said earlier, challenges could relate to many different aspects of our lives. Challenges could be related to how you are connecting to others. It could be at home, at work, or at university, or even at church. As a student, you may also experience challenges regarding how you relate to your studies, to fellow students and staff members at the university. The question is how you view those challenges and how you respond to the challenges' impact on your studies. Challenges relate to many different aspects, but what happens when you are experiencing those challenges? It is very normal to feel overwhelmed when challenges arise. But as the challenge persists, we may start to feel helpless and wanting to give up. Panic may also set in, and we start to doubt our capabilities to resolve the issue. As challenges arise, we often find ourselves spending a lot of time focusing on what we cannot control. Instead, we could shift our focus to appreciate the things we can control. It is important to ask yourself, what are the things I can control? There are some aspects you can control despite your challenges. In order to do that, you need to spend more time to strengthen what you can control. An example is that even though you have got limited financial resources, you have managed to start with your studies and you are doing well. This gives you a sense of hope that you could in future change your circumstances and your family circumstances. You now have the motivation to find a part-time job that allows you for enough time to study and also to save for study fees for your next semester. We cannot only just focus on things you cannot control, but it's also important to be realistic and appreciate and understand things you cannot control. There are some aspects you cannot control. As you focus on things you cannot control, you become more aware of your challenges and you could feel overwhelmed and even helpless about your situation. And I must emphasize that human beings have got a tendency to focus on things they cannot control instead of focusing on things they can control. When you focus on things that you cannot control, you feel defeated, and therefore you don't see hope. Let's look at the case study below, or an example below. You are struggling to pay your study fees. You can acknowledge the impact of this on your studies. But if you only think about the hopelessness of the situation, you may become even more overwhelmed, and this will impact on your motivation to study. How do you think about your challenges? How do you normally react to changes? When do you perceive a situation as a challenge? It is important to think about our reaction, but also our thinking about specific situation that we regard as a challenge. What then happens when you encounter a challenge? As human beings, we respond differently to those situations that we think they are challenging. Do you perhaps withdraw from your goals? Do you feel helpless and hopeless? Do you perhaps become doubtful about your future, or you lack motivation? Do you then feel very vulnerable when you encounter a challenge and you lack the self-confidence? Let's also look at the negative view of a challenge. The negative view of a challenge is when you take a challenge as a punishment or a challenge as a downfall, that you experience a specific challenge as a failure, and that it means that you have failed in life. It becomes very personal. It's not about a particular challenge that you are experiencing, but it's about your identity as a person. Do you tend to blame others for your challenge? Do you then make excuses, or you become angry towards yourself and others? Do you then view yourself as a victim of circumstances? For example, you feel that the circumstances that you are failing a model is due to the lecturers who don't like you. It is important to take risk when we are experiencing challenges. When you decide not to take healthy risk because of the challenge you are experiencing, you are robbing yourself of an opportunity to learn. Not only to learn about yourself, but also to learn about others. Taking necessary risk could help you to test your perception of reality. Let's use this example. When you decide to approach a lecture because you have been struggling with the model and you ask for support, you could be surprised how your lecturer willingly supports you. And this could even negate your reality, your perception that the lecturers will laugh at you, or they will label you a lazy student, or that you are stupid. In order to take healthy risk, we need to be aware of our emotional intelligence and how it impacts on the decisions we make and the relationship. We tend to overlook the impact of emotional intelligence on managing our relationships with others. We must remember we are emotional human beings. All of us have a need to be loved, to be accepted, and to feel worthy. In turn, we also need to be able to love and to accept. And it is important that we start with ourselves in order to be able to receive and give the love and the acceptance. Most of us spend our lives in our heads. We tend to dismiss our emotions and choose not to attend to the emotions of others. This is quite critical, especially when we experience challenges, because we can tend to think about solving the issues, but we don't appreciate the impact of the emotions on resolving the issues. People hurt each other when in pain due to lack of emotional intelligence. If you are not aware of the emotions, you then just tend to impact on other people because your emotions overflows. You are not in control and you are not sensitive to what you give to other people. It is normally understood as a communication problem. You don't know how to communicate, whereas the real issue is a lack of empathy in communication. When you are frustrated or disappointed that you have failed the model, are you aware of the emotions you are experiencing as you write the email to the lecturer or to the administration staff? What then is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is about being connected to your own emotions, knowing what you are feeling or not feeling, also what your emotions mean, how your emotions affect you, how your expressions of emotions affect others. You could be wondering, why then is emotional intelligence so important? As human beings, we need to be in touch with our own emotions and know how to express them in a mature way. And this is important in moments when we are under pressure or when we are experiencing challenges. You also need to recognize and acknowledge and manage your own emotions. You need to also understand how your emotions affect your decisions, your behavior, your relationship with others, and your success. Sometimes the reason we are not where we need to be is not because of the intellect, but because of our emotions, our fears, our sense of not believing in ourselves. We also need to take responsibility for our own emotions. We cannot talk about emotional intelligence without looking at the concept of honesty. Emotional intelligence is not also about being nice all the time. It is also about being honest to yourself and others. Emotional intelligence is about being smart with your own emotion. You are as smart with your intellect as smart as you are with your emotions. You don't sugarcoat things. You don't shy away from the truth. You then have crucial conversations with others. You can be honest and direct. You apologize when you are wrong. You can handle negative feedback without blaming others or being in denial. You are also open-minded. You can deal with differences in opinion. That's when we talk about diversity. It could be of opinion, of emotions, of practices, or traditions. Emotional intelligence is also about being self-aware and also having a realistic self-assessment. I am angry. Some people get surprised when they receive feedback about their emotions when other people would have perceived them as angry, rude, and they said, no, that was not my intention. The reason that happens is because you are not in touch with your own emotions and you cannot realistically assess what you are feeling and what you are not feeling. Emotional intelligence is about the ability to understand and recognize your moods and the emotion as well as how that affect others. Furthermore, emotional intelligence is about self-regulation, trustworthiness and integrity, ability to think before acting, empathy, and ability to understand the emotions of others. If we are emotionally intelligent, it could help us with better mental health. We can then develop healthy, strong, and trustworthy relationships. It also creates optimism and self-confidence. You can be successful because you are able to take healthy risk and prepare for opportunities. You are also able to negotiate relationships where people can relate as emotional human beings. Let's take some time and reflect. Write down your challenges on a piece of paper. What are the things you can control about your challenge? What are the things you cannot control about your challenge? What are your thoughts now about the challenges you have? What is the first thing you want to focus on now? You could furthermore list specific steps you would take to manage your challenges. Your steps need to be realistic and manageable. What type of support do you need to manage the challenges? Thank you for listening. You could contact us at Unisa Directorate for Counseling and Career Development. Our email is counseling@unisa.ac.za.